you doing? Easy. Good girl. All right. Well, happy Saturday. I just kind of started working out here, trying to figure out to see if I can get a way to make a pattern so that we can cut sheets of metal out to encapsulate this frame. So this is my 92 Dodge Dakota that's been LS swapped for a while. I've done some drag and drive events with it. If you're not aware, you can go back on the channel and kind of check that stuff out. And just to give an update in case you're new, I was getting ready to go to Hot Rod Drag Week, pulled the motor and transmission out, found out my transmission was the Turbo 400 and it had cracked the bell housing, and that kind of just set forth a lot of might as well fix this while I can. So what I'm doing right now is, this is part I don't remember of installing a Ford 8.8 rear end into my Dakota. But while we're doing so, since I've already cleaned and painted the frame, we're gonna weld in a piece of metal that's the same thickness as the frame on the outside of here so that we can box this frame in. So we're gonna make it more structurally sound because it is really flimsy. And also, when I do a roll cage in this truck, which will come up at some point in time, you have to box it in anyway to make sure that those mounts are a little bit more secure. So we'll be ahead of a game when it comes to that. But I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. And what I've done is I went to the grocery store and I got some poster board, and I just was able to kind of hold it up against the frame with my legs and draw out a line. Not perfect. I'm gonna cut it and see what happens. But I was able to get it done. It would have been better with two people. So what I'm gonna do is this line that I've drawn, I'm gonna cut as good as I can and see how well it tapes to the top of the frame rail. And if it tapes pretty well to the top of the frame rail, I'll leave it there in place, and then I'll draw the bottom, cut the bottom, and then we'll repeat for the other side, only knowing that I probably need to cut this off, which is a brake bracket, and it might be in our way. We also have something else to look at, which is there's a couple cross braces. One of them might need some alteration. So let me cut this out real quick. Well, that worked out pretty good for the top. Got a little bit of a low spot here, and I might mark that, but I think it'll be fine with metal because I think it'll still be close enough that we can weld in there. So that's what I'm worried about, is trying to make sure all my gaps are going to be correct. They look pretty good. So now I'm going to try to draw the bottom. Looks like I might even be able to crease it, but I'm gonna have to be careful with that. Running my hand on the other side of this to make sure that it stays flat against the frame. And I'm gonna cut inside the line when I cut it. Using this corner back here, I don't know if you guys can see it, I'll show you in a minute, to line up, because it went flat against this bracket. Alright, look at that. Sorry, I got interrupted there, but it's looking pretty good. I've got some hang down that I think I need to mark on this side. That's it. I just gotta cut a little off on the bottom down there. And my template is made. And then I'm gonna see if I can maybe cut this brake bracket off here and see how that looks. And use the template on the other side, see if it looks the same. And we got one template, that'll be great. Here we have it. This is definitely close enough to work. Might need a little trimming here and there, but it fits well in all areas except right here. Sorry, I gotta clean on the frame. Which this is part of the gas tank mount. And so I'm gonna have to account for that when we do it. So I might have to cut that out when it's time. But this gets us where we need to be, so we can definitely cut those out, and then I can sketch what that needs to be when we cut it out. Yeah, we'll hit that bridge when we get there. This is the main concern, though, is just making sure we have a template that's going to be able to cover these holes. Of course, they're going to be flat. I'm hoping that it won't warp too much when we do that. It seems to fit pretty well. So we'll just have to play with the metal some if it does. That's a good thing, is it's metal and you can weld it. So if we gotta make adjustments here and there, you either got a grinder, weld a little extra in there, and you're good to go. So all right, that part's done. I'm glad to have that off my plate. Let me see what's next. Well, we are at the shop where we first cut the motor mounts for the Dakota. Tommy's getting the template laid out here because we went and made some alterations for the center support, and he has the tools that we need to cut this metal, and that's why we keep you around, right?
Useful for something.
Right, exactly. Sweet. While he's doing that, we cut this out here for the center support because that's where the gas tank mounts to. We're going to keep that. Same thing for here. We made a flap so that one side we're going to leave it down and cut it out. The other side we're going to cut it back. We're doing all that just so we have everything we need. We also brought pieces of metal for gramps. So these, I don't remember how thick they are, but they're pretty thick. I've got the old LS swap Dakota motor mounts for my Dakota, and I had the same metal company that I bought this from cut me some squares for gramps. We're gonna have to trim, and then Tommy's got some transfer punches that we can use so that we can take these home and finish them up and keep drilling them. Forgive me and my camera because this is my phone because I left the GoPro at the house. So Tommy's just going to be cutting stuff with fire anyway, so that'll be fun to watch. There you go. So I got to learn a lot about all this. Tommy's been doing a lot of stuff for a while, really picking up some skills. Me and Tommy go back. We've hung out since we were little kids. One of the things he was saying is he has some of these marker pins like this, and it'll mark on the steel, but the thing is it really likes more of a rough finish, and since this is so shiny it's kind of hard to see. So instead he uses this soapstone marker to write on this, and there's some other things he has too as well, but he thinks that he'll be able to see this the best when he's using the plasma cutter to cut it out. So I'm definitely not going to question him because he knows what he's doing and I don't. But we got it all drawn out. We're gonna do this twice and cut metal with fire, which is fun. And yeah. plasma cutter's working pretty good. I'm glad Tommy knows what he's doing. All this stuff will be cleaned up with a flat disc. It's kind of hard to do it freehand without a guide. Well, that was pretty successful. We got the panels cut out and home. You can see this one's got a little rust on it. It rained on the way home, but got the clearances done for the driver's side. So that's what this is for the fuel tank mount right there. And then this one right here is for to get around the cross member here. And I've actually got one in place, so let me migrate to the other side of the truck and look how well it fits. Fits that line really, really well. That template turned out pretty good. Still some alterations and grinding and some things that I'm gonna have to do, and I'll explain that once we get down to it. I still have to prep these things, get them, get the edges all smoothed out and stuff like that. Make sure they're in line so that they weld in pretty well. I'm going to do some practice welding too, so I'll show you guys that when we get there. But I'm so happy to have this piece done because we can really make some ground on the rear end swap now, because once these things are welded in and painted, we can move on to hanging the leaf springs and getting the 8.8 ready to go in, which is it's been a bit of a bigger task than I expected it to be, but it'll be worth it in the end. So very, very excited for that. All right, well, I'm gonna shut it down. It's starting to rain, and well, it's just not a pretty day outside, and I've got some things to do before it gets too bad. So thanks for coming along. If you're liking the projects here, obviously we have a whole bunch of stuff going on, and you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. We have builds of these things on our playlist in the YouTube, so go check them out. Like, I've built this truck from the ground up. You'll see where this one came from, even when we picked it up. And you'll see this thing drag racing. There's a lot of stuff going on. So if you want to go check those out and see them, I think there's a lot of good historical videos on the channel. So feel free to browse around there. If you are subscribed and you've been following along and you like hanging out and commenting, I just want to tell you guys thank you so much. We certainly appreciate it. And well, now we're on to the next step of this thing. So until next time, you know the deal. Y'all be good.